The Twins need a strong second half to make a playoff push, but before they can do that, you need to get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Warne. You can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. I have watched the Twins for more than 30 years, covering them for about half that long. And you can find most of my work on my newsletter, Access Twins. Cross the waves from me, Mr. Dave Brown, BBWAA member and Hall of Fame voter. And by the way, Dave, you've been making the rounds with some interviews with the Hall of Fame inductees. How has that been going? I heard that you had some experience with that today.
Yeah, they make the players who are being inducted this year available for some media interviews. It's not one-on-one or anything like that, but it's still a Zoomy. And so in reverse order, we talked to Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and early today, Billy Wagner about their experience here a week or so before they get inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's counting down. We're close. It's almost time.
We're kicking around the idea of an episode around those guys because CC Sabathia faced the Twins many times, many times, including Joe Mauer's big league debut. Ichiro, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm assuming he hit 320 against the Twins just because that's what he did to everybody. So, right. And then Billy Wagner, just one of the best left-handed relievers of all time in that conversation. So we'll see if we get to that. But before we get to that, thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And of course, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we're your team. That's the Minnesota Twins every day. We love to hear from our everydayers as well. So hit us up in the comments, whether that means the tweets, the skeets, you name it on the YouTube. Also, we like to hear from you during the premiere or just if you're swinging by to listen. So come hang out with us. And today's episode, we will get to a few different items as the second half, the unofficial second half, gets underway. The schedule out of the gates, what record we think the Twins are going to need to have to get in, and how to get there, most importantly. Any changes we might expect to see, and then a couple quick news items as the Twins are coming out of the break, possibly with some reinforcements coming hopefully quite quickly. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Dave, out of the gates, the Twins are in Denver. Chris Paddock, don't call me Scott, starting game one. I don't believe they've announced the next two starters. I had a friend asking me, I guess for fantasy baseball purposes, if Joe Ryan would start in the series. Roster Resource seems to think he will start on Sunday, but they also have SWR starting Saturday, which I think might be bumped. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So 3 in Colorado, 3 in LA against Los Doyers, 3 at home against the Nationals, 3 at home against the Red Sox, a couple of Thursday off days mixed in. And one of those Thursday off days, the second one, is the trade deadline. So it's the 3/12 to Yuma, and we're going to see if the Twins at their destination are going to be buyers, sellers, or somewhere in between. I think I'm going to write an article because selling makes no sense to me whatsoever. But when you see that, what stands out? Colorado, Dodgers, Washington, Boston. It's theoretically easy, tough.
Yeah, I see winnable series, all of them. Even the Dodgers, it's a winnable series. I think Dan Hayes thinks he wouldn't be surprised if it's Zebby pitching on Saturday tomorrow. Yep. So that's not official or anything like that, but I saw that.
I think that's Joe in LA, which would make sense. You're one of your best pitchers against a tough matchup.
Perhaps. So yeah, that's a good point. We are getting to the point where it's time for the Twins to win these series, and I, like you, think selling is probably not going to happen at the trade deadline. I don't see that happening unless something very quick and very awful happens in the first 6 games of the second half. So it would have to be really bad. I can't even speculate as to what that would mean if they
2-10.
Sure. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So I think, I don't know that I would expect like a big buy either based on all the things that we've talked about before. But you could always use another right-handed hitter. Getting Brent Rooker from the A's would be great. I don't see it coming, but
Jim Souhan wrote that today.
Oh, did he? Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's where I got it, but
yeah, who knows? Maybe subconsciously. Yeah. If they go, 8-4 would be probably the high water mark. That gets you 2 games over 500, gets you to the deadline, and it gives you a shot. I have some numbers that we'll discuss in the second segment about what it takes to get to the playoffs, what it has taken to get to the playoffs in the new wild card era, which I believe goes back to 2022. And so with that said, and I'll tease the article I'm going to write, but everybody's kind of working for their jobs here, and it's selling really doesn't make sense if not making the playoff means any one of Rocco, Jeremy Zoll, Derek Falvey are not back. It would be hard for me to see those guys not back from the standpoint of you just literally made Derek Falvey your team president. He's presiding over a year of tumult when it comes to ownership. We don't know that much about potential ownership changes. I think it might be wise to wait until we know more to actually have an episode on it, but we'll see what happens. Rocco, I get the sense they wouldn't want to fire Rocco because that's their guy. But if you finish, 78 and 84 and do not play any compelling games the last 2 weeks of the season, maybe things change. I don't know. I think the idea of selling is kind of a flat no for me. Though with that said, if someone comes calling with a really good offer for Willie Castro and you go 4-8 in this stretch, that's where things get dicey. Or Brock Stewart. I really would not like to see them trade any of these guys. However, in a pinch, if someone offers you that right-handed hitter for, one of your relievers or something, maybe a challenge trade or what they call the good old-fashioned baseball trade, I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out, but I think you're right. They're not really in a position to add any payroll. So if it were to add an impact right-handed bat, you'd have to trade prospects you're not comfortable moving. Though with that said, if you know that you're working for your job, maybe you make that trade, knowing that you're not going to be tied to whatever happens with, let's say, the recently re-injured Emmanuel Rodriguez moving forward.
Yeah, that was a bummer. He's got an oblique.
Yeah.
It's his 3rd injury of the year. I know that's not really – I guess it's part of what we're talking about going forward the second half of the season. But
yeah,
if you put yourself in the position just of the front office guys, of Falvey and Zoll and so forth, it just doesn't make any sense to trade for the future because you don't know if you're going to be here or not.
Right.
You're 4 games out of a playoff spot, I think, or something like that. Pretty close to it. If you're going to make any moves, I think it's going to be something to make that more of a possibility, just because why are you necessarily worried about what the roster is going to look like next year or in 2 years when you don't know that you're going to be here? So I think in their situation is helped in a way by, like I said, they're close enough. The trade deadline is close enough. They're close enough to the playoffs. The trade deadline is close enough that it's really kind of impossible for them to not be in it by the time the trade deadline gets here. So you might as well go for it, such as it is, even if that means kind of staying pat and not really making a huge move. If you try to explain this to people who want Byron Buxton in a trade or whatever, if you're going to trade Byron Buxton, well, that means if you are going to do that, well, then you got to trade Joe Ryan and you got to trade whoever else you mentioned, Brock Stewart. You've got to really rip up the foundation pretty much. And I just don't think there's enough time to do that. There's enough will or time and if you look at some of the comments that people have made about the state of the trade deadline right now and what things cost, and they're just speaking in general terms, it's like it's going to be really expensive to make an ad of any kind of player. So I think we're looking at a trade deadline where there's probably not a lot of huge names that are going to go, period. And
Mhm.
I think the Twins are certainly going to be among those teams that are not going to be making a big deal with a big name here in the next almost 2 weeks.
Oh, I got something in my throat. I need you to talk for 1 second.
So I know I've been here before with Kauffman Stadium. So I just the Twins are not in a position where they're going to make a trade to tear things up for the future. So, and we've talked about before how things are kind of stagnant on the adding side because of where we are with the ownership group. So we were kind of afraid that would happen. I think we thought maybe the Twins would have a better record and would be in a position where maybe they could add a few more things to be more of a threat come a postseason time. They're not really in that position either. So it's kind of their minds are sort of made up for them here.
Yep.
We're probably not going to see a lot of activity.
It might be a perfect storm for them to not make big moves. Like, yeah, you're not as good as you had hoped, but you also want to run it back with who you have, who's coming back. We'll talk about all that and more, as well as what record we think it's going to take to get into the postseason, but not before we take our first pause. Now, maybe you're in Denver. I don't know if you'd be in Denver without tickets already, but if you are, Game Time is the way to go. If you've decided to go to a game at the last moment with your friends or your family, let's say you're kicking around downtown doing something or other, and there's a ball game going on. You see all the people walking to the park, and you think, I want to be part of that. Well, that's where Game Time comes in, because it's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the added stress, with the money you save on tickets, by the way. You know, we're talking about people buying the Twins. You can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Maybe you could even put a bid in to buy the Twins. I'm kidding. But Game Time will make all of this possible. It makes buying tickets fast and simple. The prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to, get this, Game Time. And you've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee. All of this taking the worry out of buying. And Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, makes it easy to just kind of thumb through and look for an exciting upcoming game. I mean, maybe you're in LA and want to see Joe Ryan face them. I know I want to see him face the Dodgers, because the Twins need to start stacking up wins, and seeing as much as we can of Joe Ryan against good baseball teams is probably the path to that. I always love seeing the seat views, looking what your stage or center court or center ice or the 50-yard line, you name it, home plate. What's it going to look like from where you're sitting? Game Time will help you find that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Locked On Twins back rocking and rolling into the second segment, and we are talking about what record your Minnesota Twins may need to get in. Are you ready for some hard and heavy data, Dave Brown?
Oh, boy. Am I? Yes.
In 2025, the pace, as things stand now, Mariners are on an 86-win pace. They have the last wild card spot. We'll throw in the NL just for conversation. 88-win pace for the Padres. In 2024, two teams in the AL, the Royals and the Tigers, made it with 86 wins. In the NL, two teams made it with 89 wins, the Mets and the Braves. In 2023, it took 89 wins to get into the playoffs. That was the Blue Jays on the AL side. But on the NL side, it was 84. Do you remember who those were?
When was this?
2023. It was a couple of recent expansion clubs. So the Marlins and Diamondbacks. Kind of a lean year for the NL that year. I kind of put you on the spot, so I get it. And then in 2022, the first year of the current landscape of the wild cards, the 86-win Rays snuck in, as did the 87-win Phillies. Now, I've broken it down. For 89 wins, the Twins would have to go 42-24. which sounds daunting. That's a 636 winning percentage. That's 103 win pace. In the second half, they have won at a 636 clip 4 times, including most recently 2010. That 2010 team was really dang good at a 649, but they also did it in 06, 03, and 1966. 88 wins is 41 and 25. That's a 621 winning percentage, a 101 win pace. They've done that 4 times, the same 4 seasons I just mentioned. 87 wins, that's 40 wins, 26 losses, a 606. That's a 98 win pace. They've done that 8 times. Most recently, Bomba Squad 2019, when they had a 616 winning percentage. 86 wins, that's a 39 and 27, 591 winning percentage, 96 win pace. They've done that 11 times. Most recently, 2023, when they were just above that at 592. And finally, at 85 wins, because I feel like 84 that's not going to work. I think that was a perfect storm for the NL that year. That was 30. That'd be 38 and 26, 576 winning percentage, a 93 win pace, which is right on the 94 win pace that I believe you called to start the season. They've done that 14 times. Most recently, also 2023. So they're going to have to kick it into gear here. With that said, I think the start of this second half, we saw, I don't remember who posted it, the strength of schedule, they're like 27th, so higher the number, the easier. I think they're in position to still do some things here. Again, a strong start out of the break is imperative, but, that's cold hard data. I don't know, 89 wins probably not going to happen, but I think 85 is in play.
You said if they won 42, if they went 42 and 24, and that sounds like the edge of reason at this point. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they not have a 13-game winning streak this season? Did this Twins team not do that?
Twice, back-to-back years they've had long winning streaks, and that's like some Moneyball A's business. That back in those years they'd rattle off like a 650 winning percentage after the break. They got reinforcements coming. Again, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be tough.
It will be tough. But I think they could do it. When the Twins are, my feelings about the Twins are, it depends on when you ask me.
Yeah.
If it's in the middle of a 13-game winning streak, I'm like, hey, maybe these guys have got it. When they're doing some of the other stuff that they've done, I feel like, what are you kidding me? 42 and 24. Who you crapping? As they say as they said in the show in Chicago. But Pablo comes back. Joe Ryan's still here. Bailey Ober healed up. Zebby Matthews and David Festa kick it into gear. Matt Wallner hits some fastballs finally again. It's not impossible. Would I expect it? No. Could it happen? Absolutely. And I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand. I think it is possible for the Twins to get on another roll and make it really interesting in the second half. I was looking though at all the teams that are still in it, and that's what they want. That's what Major League Baseball, the owners want. Who's out of it? Almost nobody. The Orioles are only 7.5 games out of the wild card spot. Now, I don't think the Orioles are. They would have to add some really good pitching, and then get some really good pitching from players already on their roster. I suppose it could happen.
Yeah. For
them to get back into the race. And so, Adley Rutschman would have to start hitting again. Kobe Mayo would have to start hitting. The only teams that are really out of it are the A's and the White Sox. The A's are 11. Yeah, and I'm just speaking of the American League.
So yeah.
Everyone's still, and I don't think the Angels are any good either. So
no,
they have the same record as the Twins. They're not good.
No.
And I think they'll get worse.
By the way, I misspoke. 38 and 28. I said 38 and 26. The winning percentage remains, but I ticked off a loss. So actually, if they go 10 games over 500 the rest of the way, 85 wins, you got a chance.
They could do that.
Yeah.
The Twins could do that.
For sure.
I don't know.
How much does it matter to you before we head into our final break here? let's say they had their first half in the second half and their second half that we're looking at here in the first half. Like we've talked about how a 3-game series where you lose, win, win, or you win, win, lose like they have been, or win, lose, win. It's all the same result, but how you get there is a different path. Does it change that much for you if they got to 85 wins by winning at a 4-something clip in the second half as opposed to the first? Because I feel like we haven't really seen that much data that suggests that the second half winning percentage is going to have that much to do with how you perform in October.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily ever correlate.
I mean, it makes you feel better, just like dropping the first one and winning the last 2 feels better at the end of the series because you've won 2 straight. By the way, I forgot some data that I had. The AL on the whole, and I don't know how much this matters because it's teams playing each other mostly. The AL on the whole right now has a 503 winning percentage. Last year at the break, it was 501. The year before, it was 491. That was the year the Twins made their little run. And 504 in 2022. My perception, my feeling, the thought, the buzzing between my ears is that this is one of the weaker ALs that I can remember. The data says, not so fast. I just feel as though, yes, you're going to have to battle upstream because so many teams are quote unquote in it. But this is the right AL for a team like the Twins to go on a Tigers Linsanity run from last year.
It is. I don't. That isn't necessarily complimentary of the kind of teams that they have to face. Yeah. But it is. It is there for them to go on another. And we could see the Twins go on another 13-game winning streak and still have some of their issues. They've had the one really horrendous month in June with the pitching, and other than that, they've been anywhere from mediocre to not bad to pretty good. So if they can avoid having a June in the second half, if they have a solid July and August, September, if they don't completely crash out, they should be in this to the last moment. Get Pablo back, have some other things happen. They should be in it.
July is off to the right start.
Yes, they're positive in July. So, and I think that's what'll happen. But the Twins have a way of toying with your emotions. So,
well, we all lived through last September and saw what that meant. Mm-hmm. So that is kicking around in the back of our brains. And again, how you end the season sticks with you longer because it's what you remember most recently. So we'll take our last break here. We're going to skip the changes, and we might have to do a separate show because we're running low on time. But when we come back, we will discuss a little bit of newsy items. Got some shoulder patch stuff, not Sour Patch, but shoulder patch, and some injuries, both coming and going. Twins announced over the break, as we're back here with Locked On Twins, that they were adding a shoulder patch, Securian Financial, if I'm not mistaken. Now, there was obviously some humorous outcry that it should have been Target, which from a logistic standpoint, a target on a pitching arm, there's some optics there that aren't great. And also Target's name is all over everything already. This is why would they feel the need to add more to their advertising budget? Because the ROI on that would probably not be particularly high. Twins now one of, I think we said 27 or 28 teams that have shoulder patches. Kind of had to figure it was coming. And I suspect it was just waiting out for the highest bidder, not unlike the actual process of the team being sold, which we're led to believe is making progress.
Yeah, I don't know for a fact if there are any teams that have the double up with their, the stadium, the ballpark name, and the patch on the jersey.
There's just no sense in
it. I don't think there are. So it's not. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, but also my impression would be that you'd want to sort of spread that out a little bit. You've already got the Target Field on the mind for
Target Center is literally across the street. You can see the Target dog wagging his tail, and between the two, Target Plaza. I don't think you need it.
Yeah, it seems like overkill to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I just you don't see, like, even the Dodgers have the name of their ownership group, Guggenheim, on their jerseys, and even that, it might be a little like too much. But you don't see them doubling up with that. So it's always it's a varying what you get on the patch, rather than overkill. I think is. I mean, I don't care. It's not that big a deal to me. But for anybody out there who thinks, well, they should have Target on there. Well, nobody really is doing that.
No.
In the so.
Soccer kits have had ads on for forever. I mean, I always used to be like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Whatever it says, Emirates or
right,
Wonder Bread or what's the other one, Bimbo Bread. There's all kinds of different things that you'll see.
Everyone's got to eat their bread, man.
Yeah.
Don't shame them.
I've been trying to cut my carbs, so you leave me out of this. Next, Emmanuel Rodriguez back on the IL, 7-day stint. Obviously, timing a little frustrating just because it's coming out of the break, and they've been down for a few days. So to have to go on the IL, Theo Tollefson tweeted something about it was an injury that happened on Friday, so we're a week out, which would be 7 days. I didn't get a look at if it was backdated or anything. I did get the email too. I just hadn't been looking at it. But, another injury, I don't think that changes their plans that much. The outfield is where they've been healthy-ish. At least they've had Bader, Buxton, Larnach. Wallner hasn't been great, both health-wise and results-wise. But the path to Emmanuel Rodriguez making the team was down the stretch was probably more along the lines of, do they trade anybody, or is there an actually damaging injury between now and the end of the season? So it's certainly discouraging to me to see him get hurt again, but I'm not worrying about it too much.
What does Rocco think about it? The dog, not the man.
Do you hear him? My wife just
hear him, yes.
our son, and he's crying. He's been out of the house 4 days, and so when I got him today, he whimpered the whole way back 30 minutes from the border. So he's upset about Emmanuel Rodriguez, but I'm not as concerned.
Yeah, I'm sure if you ask the Twins, a year ago, or Rocco's really upset about Emmanuel Rodriguez.
He's not loving it. He's not loving it at all.
If you asked him a year ago, well, what are your plans for this guy? They might have said, well, by July 18th, maybe he's on the verge of being in the majors. But that's not happening at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on it in a sad way too much. It's just it's not the thumb injury from before where he was sliding into second base and re-injuring himself, or it's not it's an oblique injury. So it's one of those obnoxious newer baseball injuries that happen, and it's a bummer. But hopefully Walker Jenkins stays in the lineup, and he can continue. He needs the development a little bit more. I think Rodriguez is, he's in AAA. He's closest to getting to the big leagues. He's going to get his chance soon enough. It's maybe not as soon as everybody thought it would be, but it's going to happen pretty soon. So I'm just not too, sometimes you have the bandwidth to worry about stuff like that, and other times you're more worried about what the major league team is doing. So
yeah, for a second I thought you were going to go Wes Clements. In my day, we didn't have obliques or something like that, and it was like, okay,
you didn't used to hear about them, that's for sure. But yeah,
can't pull fat. That's what I always say.
That's how I live.
Yeah, so Zebby Matthews, we're hoping back sooner rather than later, possibly as soon as Saturday. I don't know that we need to hash out anything more about that because we don't know anything. But before we get out of here, Bailey Ober and Luke Keaschall rehabs start on Friday. Ober is starting on Friday against Chase Petty. Great trade, Falvey.
How about that?
So that should be fun. But Keaschall, I guess he was DHing to start. Not to start. He's going to DH in tonight's game. Do you think there's any chance they force feed him first base and listen, Ty France, we love you, but it's time, man. You gotta.
Well, I think we've got Cody Clemens here, and I think Cody Clemens is. I mean, that's sort of the guy they're already sneaking into the lineup a lot, and hint Ty, hint. Maybe trying to light a fire to him a little bit. So there's that.
Yeah, Francis played tonight, but they're facing a lefty, so I mean,
right,
it doesn't mean much.
Kyle Freeland, home of the Freeland and the Brave. So what I don't know about Keaschall is how his Tommy John recuperation, like had he been playing all this time, where would he be in terms of coming back from that?
Was this good for him or bad for him to sit?
I don't know. I don't. Do they know? They might not know.
They probably know better than you and me, a couple of schlubs on the internet.
They probably do. They probably know better than us, but at least we'd like to think so. I don't know. The thing that I was not Keaschall's throwing was bad when he was playing in April, and I don't know if that's going to be any better. So I don't think we're going to see him in the outfield. Maybe at second base, maybe at first base, and there's still DH.
Nobody's lit the DH role on fire. Like, it's not like you got to get Trevor Larnach in there or Matt Wallner. I mean, one of those two guys can play every single day. You don't need both if neither of them are going to be lighting the world on fire. Larnach's been good against righties. Again, it's the Greg Masterson theory where everyone perceives him being worse, but he's doing what he's supposed to. They're just letting him face too many lefties.
And, Keaschall and Larnach, that could be a platoon too.
Yep.
So, that's something that we might see. And I think as soon as Keaschall is, as soon as his swing is in shape, I think we'll see him with the team. So I don't know if that means a longer rehab or not, because it's been 2 months since he played, and he didn't really get he got mostly a full spring training.
Yeah.
So, lots of speculation here going on. I don't know, Brandon.
I think 3 to 5 days is possible.
All right, let's bring him up.
Okay. And then Ober, he might be just a one and done.
No idea.
But he's only missed 2 weeks. So I think he could be a one and done on a rehab. We'll see.
But did they fix what was wrong with him? Like, I'm not talking about. I can't imagine that they did.
Yeah.
It's just been. That's the thing. Did they, in this time, is he going to come back and give up 3 home runs in 4 innings?
Maybe
I mean, that's no good.
Maybe it's a wait and see with how he pitches against I think it's the Louisville Bats, AAA of the Reds. So we'll see if that's a good match. He's facing the Bats. That's been the issue. Facing the Bats was his issue in June. So we'll see how he comes out of that. That's it, though. That is a wrap for this edition of Locked On Twins. We're going to feed some ducks and get out of here. Thank you, by the way, for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night with our friends Lindsey Crosby and others. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. He's Mr. Dave Brown. I'm Brandon Warne saying thank you so much for hanging out with us for another edition of Locked On Twins. Have a pleasant good evening, and we'll see ya
tomorrow night. Rocco.